Hey there, fellow nerds and geeks. Nabus here, and we've got an awesome Hall H show lined up for you. On this episode, me and my co-host, Alex Benedicto, are joined by past guest, International Mobil Film Festival creator Susan Botello, actor and filmmaker Anthony De La Cruz, and a surprise guest, Tracy, the hot nerd girl herself. Susan is in full production mode as she is getting things ready for the festival, which takes place on April 28th through April 30th in San Diego, California. She gives us an update, and we also get to know her, Anthony, and Tracy a bit better, especially during our Thunder Round. For instance, Tracy shares her real-life superpower, which we would definitely like to try and test. Anthony tells us the 4 other people he would like to take on a trip to the moon with, and Susan wishes she could create a vlog about her grandma's Spanish recipes. She said she makes a pretty good paella, so we'll have to get especially SDCC fit in order to eat as much as we want. We also sing happy birthday to one of Susan's friends. This is a 2-hour episode in a noisy coffee shop, but it was such a fun show, and we could have easily talked to all 3 of them for another 2 hours. Please enjoy, and artists assemble. Hey there, fellow nerds and geeks. Nabus here, and welcome to the Hall H show. If you listened to episode 4, then you would have learned about Susan Botello and the magic of making movies on your mobile phone, and how her panel at San Diego Comic-Con 2016 was one of our favorites. Her labor of love, the International Mobil Film Festival, will take place on April 28, 29, and 30th this year in San Diego, California. So she is back to give us the 411 and get us up to speed, especially when what she has in store for the Q&A session, red carpet event, and award ceremony on the last day. Along with Susan and myself, I'm joined by my brother from another mother and HallH.com co-founder, Alex Benedicto, actor and filmmaker, Anthony De La Cruz, and last and definitely not least, Tracy, the hot nerd girl herself. And if you are confused, or rather confused, as Tracy would probably say, on why she is here, we'll get into that in a little bit. We are at another location of Lestat's, a coffee shop here in San Diego, California. I guess each time we have Susan on the show, it will have to be at a Lestat's, since we went to another one the first time we had her on the show. Since we are recording at a coffee shop, I apologize for the background noise. Maybe one day we can get a podcast studio like Joe Rogan. Thank you, everyone, for being on the show.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. On this episode, we will learn what's in store for this year's International Mobil Film Festival. We'll learn how our guests found their geeky side. We'll ask our guests some of the off the beaten path questions that we usually ask in the Thunder Round. We'll put a quick spotlight on some of the artists that recently caught our attention, and then we'll flash forward a little bit and talk about what's on the horizon for all of us. I guess we should do a little quick round of introductions. Susan was on the show earlier. I don't know if there's something that you want to add to your bio. Basically, what would a Google search show up when somebody searched for you?
Say that one more time.
What would a Google search turn up when somebody looked up your name?
Probably the film festival, the
Yeah?
International Film Festival for mobile phones. So, but I do want to give an update on a couple things that I mentioned, because I think the last time we talked was in November, right?
Yes.
So since then we had the deadline, for the film submissions. And I was actually a little bit surprised because, last year we had like 138 or so films. This year we doubled that,
Awesome.
So I had to roll up my sleeves. All right, let's watch movies, for like a week straight. And it was amazing. The films are better, things like that. And I just got notice from one of the filmmakers that's actually in Canada, I believe in Toronto, in Canada, but I'm not sure. I could be blowing this, but whatever. Sorry, Aris. But his name is Aris. He did a film about. Well, I'm not going to tell you because you know what?
Spoilers.
I want you to come to the film festival. We don't really even share which films. We share the names of the filmmakers on the website, but we don't share their films or anything like that because it takes away from people coming and watching them on the big screen and meeting some of these guys.
I guess scratch that
carpet.
question that I was going to ask you.
yeah, right. Well, but yeah, so we have that. We also launched a really big program. It's called the Global Mobil Film Awards. And so that is an opportunity for traditional film festivals and film contests, along with filmmakers themselves and mobile film festivals, to all basically open the doors for the mobile filmmakers. And we launched that with smartphone Flick Fest from Australia.
Okay.
And that's with Angela Blake and Ali Crew. They're the founders. And Heartland Films with the president is Craig Prater, who was also one of our judges in 2014 and last year. And so we're talking about really opening the doors to everybody to come on in and support the mobile filmmakers.
Oh, that's awesome.
So
you mentioned the judges. Who are the judges this year?
So we've got Craig Prater is judging the mobile feature film category, and those are longer films between 20 and 60 minutes. And then we have Angela and Ali from the Smartphone Film Flick Fest.
Say that 5 times fast.
I know, I'm like tongue-tied here.
Use some of that 5-hour energy drink that Tracy was drinking earlier.
Yeah. We have Jeffrey Turboff, who was also here in San Diego when we launched a kickoff for our film school, Mobile Film School. He was here with Max Schlesser from MENA. He was in New Zealand at the time. But Jeffrey is an editor for one of the night news shows on cable. So, it's really cool. We also have Robert Cox, who's a local screenplay author here in San Diego. I believe he was just at Cannes or Sundance or something like that as well. So it's pretty neat to have these people as judges because they have that, they're not just, someone who just likes films, you know what I mean? They do bring the professional element to that when they're voting and things like that.
Cool. All right, we'll get a little bit more into the festival.
Yeah.
But I'd like to, learn a little bit more about our other guests. Since this is about mobile films, and we have another filmmaker here, Anthony De La Cruz.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Could you let us know and the audience give us a little information, 411 about what you're up to and how you got connected with Susan?
Sure. Well, as you mentioned, I'm an actor first, and actually that's kind of how I stumbled into it. I actually was helping out a friend's band. I was interested in learning how to edit. So what I did was offer to make a music video for them, and free of charge, and it allowed me to kind of play around with my editing programs and such. And I was a musician actually before any of all this, so that's why I'm playing in the music community. And it's a long story, but fast forward to where we're at now, is that I did a music video not even knowing there's a mobile film festival, International Mobile Film Festival. And I had a good time. I told my friends, if you like it, you can keep it. It's yours, free. It's kind of cool. Anyway, it turned out really well. So then I learned of the festival. I submitted it really just not, just to see if it would go, and it got selected last year. And, it's weird because, you kind of like, it grows from there, Susie's in charge of this, and she, I don't know, it's hard to explain, but when you get involved, you want to get more involved, and you realize the possibilities and that it's a whole new avenue, a whole new arena for anyone really to dive in and just be an innovator, be the first person, doing anything, and experimenting, because, there's no rules, there's no boundaries. So when I did that, I got selected. Of course, I come to the festival, and, it's awesome. There's red carpet, there's photographs, all the cool stuff that most, I guess, filmmakers get to experience on a higher level. And when I did that, I also got to see other filmmakers, from around the world, their contributions, their stories, their, what they've done. Now, again, I didn't submit to this with. Whoa. You're
Nobody
right,
got
it is-
shot.
I know.
Nobody got shot.
I'm still alive. That's not blood? Okay. So anyway, as I lose my train of thought, wake up. I didn't go into the festival with with the intent of being in the festival. I just happened across it. Well, these individuals that had, they're at a different. I guess they had a different motivation, and so in the end, what I learned through this whole process was obviously, no matter what level you're making a film at, mobile phone, regular cameras, high end, whatnot, it comes down to the story making. And that's something I learned being at the festival, hearing the other filmmakers speak. If you have a good story, then it can transcend anything, no matter what level you make it at. So what he was also trying to inspire other filmmakers to do, because it's so new. People are like, oh, look, here's my little clip. Oh, here's my, here's this little video I did. Kind of like what I did, although mine was kind of good. But I'm just kidding. It really is about, if we're going to take it to the next level, it's about what kind of stories we're going to bring, what quality we're going to bring to this new device that we're using to make films with. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
So speaking about stories, what was your movie about last year?
Sorry?
What was your movie about last year?
Okay, so last year,
Yeah.
well, last year was just a music video. Right?
Oh, okay.
So it's my band. It was like a performance video. I was in their practice space. And it looked like cool backdrops. And this is funny you mentioned Comic-Con. So I did the video in high HD, because even 3 phones ago that I had, I had 1080p already capabilities of recording.
Okay.
So this is high-end quality, at the time that you could have back then. And then Comic-Con happened to be happening at the time, and I thought, oh, it'd be kind of cool to do a cartoon effect on it. Well, then that kind of really turned it into a whole different thing. And that's what I submitted over to the festival. So there's this cartoon effect on it, but it's a performance video, so it looks amazing, the music's great, performance is great, and then of course this little cartoon effect makes it look like this animation thing.
Sweet.
So that's kind of where it went. But fast forward to this year, of course, now going through that, I'm like, oh, next year I'm making a story. I'm actually doing a film for this purpose, you know what I mean? And that's where I'm at now. I actually have made my first short film where my intent was to have a story, the whole 9 yards, make it as professional looking and sounding as possible, and then, go from there.
Sweet. So what's your advice to aspiring filmmakers out there?
I'm from the school of Robert Rodriguez, 10-minute film school. If you get a chance, please look that up. You just do. I mean, especially in mobile filmmaking, everyone has a phone. You've played with it. You do your selfies. You've done all your little cute videos, your family, whatever. Now, if you just change your focus on to actually making a film with the devices you have in your hand, that's what I'm going to say. Just go, start learning it, start practicing. Learn the ins and outs of filmmaking, and then apply it to the devices you already have in your hand. You don't have to wait for equipment. You don't have to wait to educate yourself. You educate yourself in the process. There's Google, YouTube, so many tips out there that you do not have to wait for some formal education. You can get going now.
Sweet. I guess we can shift the conversation back to the festival. I'm going to read a little excerpt from their website. It's their mission. The purpose of our Mobile Film Festival is not only to create interest and spark creativity in people of all ages with limited income or resources, but to actually inspire creative filmmakers to live their potential and realize the opportunity to fulfill their dream. The International Mobile Film Festival is for everyone around the world. All ages welcome. Our mission is our passion, and we are sharing mobile filmmaking internationally with our collaborators, sponsors, and partners. So, Susan, what's in store for this year's festival?
Well, before I go there, I'd like to really thank you guys, because you guys are going to be a part of this next year's film festival. This next month's film festival.
Well, thank you for asking us.
Yeah,
We're so looking forward to it.
I just thought it would be awesome. Plus, if you can relate your red logo to the red carpet, that also works. No, but I think it's a great experience, because part of what we do in the film festival is make the filmmaker, help them feel like stars. They are it. Mm-hmm. They're all that there is, as far as I'm concerned, giving them that moment and to give them that kind of an attention with the photos and things like that. It's going to be pretty amazing.
Can you go by the day by day, like Friday,
Yeah,
Saturday, and Sunday?
The the opening day is going to be Friday in the evening, and it's going to be from 6 to 9 p.m. We're going to have a few presentations, and then we're going to do like a meet and greet and things like that with the filmmakers, which a lot of the people who come to the film festival don't get enough of, you know. And the filmmakers then leave and go to their own countries, and it's hard to see them again. It's Klutzy Saturday here at Lestat's today. And that's going to be how we kick everything off on Friday, the 28th. Then the next night, the next day is on the 29th, and we open from 4 to 9, and that's kind of the heart of the film festival itself. That's when we present all the films. Planning out of 250-something films, selected about 30-something films, 36, 35, something like that to show. And one of them is our mobile feature form film as well. So when we do that, we're also going to have a little workshop presentation as well. So everybody gets to, even though you don't really need the training, there's still a few things that people need to know just to kind of inspire people to get started without being too scared, and also, to make sure everybody shoots their film in a way that would qualify for a film festival, and most of us for the big screen, which is in the horizontal format, not vertical videos.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other day is the 30th, which is Sunday. That's the red carpet day. That's going to be really special. We have a couple presentations there, some of them from our collaborative partners from different parts around the world. Mm-hmm. We'll show a few little films and some presentations and things like that. And we're also going to have Tracy's group, and so I'd like to ask Stacy to tell people about her group, because some of our listeners are going to be from around the world and they're not San Diegans, but I'd like for her to promote that group. I think it's excellent, and they're going to be part of the show on the red carpet.
Cool. Hey, I want you to give a little introduction and also talk about the Steampunk Star Wars group that you're in.
Well, I'm Tracy. Hi. I have a blog and social media community of my own around my blog, Hot Nerd Girl. And a couple years ago, a couple of convention friends and I got together for Star Wars Celebration that was in Anaheim, and we did a panel about Star Wars steampunk and caught Lucasfilm's eye, and ended up deciding to make a charity group out of it. So that's our main focus, is volunteering for different charities, and we also get to do really fun things, like sometimes do red carpet events. So basically what we do is we combine the worlds of Star Wars and steampunk. So each of us has a character that is in the Star Wars universe. All of our names are our characters' names and a steampunk component. So my character, for example, is Sabe Sprocket. And Sabe was the bodyguard and body double of Queen Amidala in the prequels. So it was one of Keira Knightley's first roles. So I get to be this kind of badass bodyguard chick. So,
Awesome.
sorry, apparently somebody needs to go pick up their order. But at any rate, so yeah, we're really excited, and thank you so much for including us in your film festival.
I'm actually thinking, honestly, it's why I hugged you when I met you, because you're going to be a part of everything, and you can only make it brighter, and I also spoke with you about possibly, I think it's ideal for people in the cosplay industry community to make their films as well, and get them into our film festival by shooting them with a phone. Like, don't wait for that camera, you know what I mean? Just use what you have. And so I'm hoping that you'll be inspired as well. But your contribution to this film festival is going to be amazing. It's going to be an extra treat for all the filmmakers this year.
Oh, thank you. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, we're all looking forward to it. Mm-hmm. I guess we can go back I know you can't tell me what kind of films or the content of the films.
Well, I can say that some films are, we do separate them.
Okay.
So some of them are for everyone, family-friendly, okay films. I mean, if you say that, sometimes depends on the household, what's friendly, what's not, you know what I mean? Everybody's watching zombies and things like that. But, and just trying to keep it safe for kids, So one of them is very general, one session. The other one is what I call the freaky films. And those are freaky films. They're kind of scary. And they can be done between 1 and 5 minutes.
She's not kidding.
And then the other one is more adult-oriented, probably because they may, say some bad words or something like that, or they may have, it's, as long as the films, we were talking about an open, no rules, frills or whatever.
No boundaries. Yeah.
No boundaries, but there are some, of course. I don't
Well,
want
that's
people
illegal.
to be insulting, to especially to people, to have somebody walk up angry or something like that, and also, porn and stuff like that. we don't accept that. But other than that, it's pretty much open. So I can tell you that some of the films this year. I mean, I feel for the judges, let me put it that way, because, some of these films are just so amazing, and we have, first, second, and third prize. And so it's going to be really tough for them to pick just 3 winners. So we may end up having some close calls this year. We'll see how we figure that out. Maybe we'll bring you on board to...
Did you have any documentaries?
We do. There's documentaries, there's some musical ones, there's some creative ones, musical montage, things like that. A lot of the filmmakers that submit to my film festival know that I'm, making sure that they have licensing and things like that for their music and their media. So it's not like, plagiarism or, infringing on other, the artists. We're all in this world together, so let's, respect each other. And so, but the films are just really amazing. You're going to see some films that are very creative, with visually and through sound as well. And I like to include a variety, but there is one film that we're going to have this year that's actually coming straight from Anthony's house. And I'd like for him to just mention
Live?
that.
Oh, no. Not as cool as you think. No, well, it is cool, but I guess that's
Yes.
over to me. Okay.
Yeah.
So, a cool thing about the International Mobil Film Festival is that it is all ages, okay? And this year, my daughter, age 11, has submitted her first film and has been accepted. And she will be, her film will be presented, and she will be there, as a filmmaker, which is kind of cool. So, the funny part, too, is that she fell into this as well. She saw me do this last year. She did this video. Actually, there's a very good backstory that I may or may not share. But, it depends. But anyway, she, let's just say that this was her first effort. It was really just going to get something together. She has already begun work on her second one for next year, and this one is actually story-based horror. I'm like, what? You're 11, girl. Like, I don't know if we can do this. But again, the point being is that it's all ages. Encourage. I mean, she's doing this on her own cell phone just like anybody else. She's talented, nonetheless, but any one of us, you don't know what your talent is. You haven't even tried it yet. Give it a shot. I mean,
Yeah, kids are perfect for this too because they're so, I'll just try it. I'll just do it, and see where it goes. But then when it does go somewhere and when they see the result of that, they're inspired, And so she got accepted to this film festival. She's going to be there with her dad and everything. And so she's already like, that's it, I'm making another one, And I've heard a little bit about, the new one, but we don't want to,
Of course.
talk about that. Get in trouble with her agent.
right? That's funny.
Obviously, the key word is international.
Yeah.
I'm curious, what countries submitted this year?
Wow. Actually, if you don't mind me saying a little bit about the history of this, a
Sure.
little bit, but we had a couple years ago, we had a lot of films coming in from India as well. And one of the things I noticed this year, there are a few films that are coming in from Italy. Last year we had a number of films coming in from Spain and France as well. And this year I'm looking at it like somehow we got to the boot, which is Italy. And I think it's awesome. Because I lived in Italy when I was a teenager.
And Spain.
In Naples.
Yeah.
And then when I was a kid, I grew up in Spain.
Yeah.
But I didn't throw, when I threw this out, it was just like to anybody.
Well, do you think that's the influence of Conrad Mess, maybe?
Of the what?
Of Conrad Mess?
Yes. So Conrad Mess has been making films, when he's in Zaragoza in Spain. And when he first submitted the very first film that we received, which was The Fixer, I didn't know where he was from. So it was so ironic, in a way. It was like, wait, you're in Spain? Oh my God, this is awesome because, I lived there. So we were able to communicate. I speak fluent Spanish and can write it, and things. I can draw it. No, I'm just kidding. But because I do that, it was great and easy communication, between him and I. And, so he's from Spain. There are a lot of the filmmakers, a lot of the films that make it into the film festival, not just mine, but a lot of the other ones too, are from Spain as well. They have a style, just like Asian movies and the Latin movies and all these movies, Indian movies, Bollywood and all that. They have their own style, and people are attracted to that. So it kind of, it brings a good thing. There's also some movies from the Middle East. They're just like literally from all over the world. Our first film festival brought somebody over, as I told you in your last podcast, but that was so long, right? That was a filmmaker from Macedonia,
Right.
Which I didn't even know where that was at the time, and I'm still a little confused, But if I look at the map, I'm like, that's right, you're in between here and there and there and here.
Wasn't there another one from Malaysia also?
Yeah, what?
Wasn't there another one from like Malaysia or?
Yeah, so last year we had one from Indonesia.
Indonesia.
Yeah, and she came out. Actually, she did it. This is a really cool story. So she, she made it. She made a film about, her and her kids and things like that, right? And their lifestyle. But it was called Mama. It was the cutest film, And so I said, if you can come to the film festival, you get, bring your family, bring the stars of the film, right? So she put out a funding campaign, to try and get the funds to come over. And she was raising, but it's expensive, you know what I'm saying? So she was struggling through that. And then there was a company they funded the entire trip basically for her. And I think they were in fashion. Elizabeth, and I hack her name, Onko Royo. But Elizabeth is her name, and it was really neat having her there because she was very alive and really inspiring. And again, the filmmakers are part of the Q&A, so they do get to connect with one another. And when they leave, they all become friends. There's Facebook, Instagram, and all these things, and they get to connect. So what would be really cool would be for a few of these filmmakers from around the world to all kind of conspire together and make a film, submit it to the next film festival. You know what I mean? With their ideas, and then come back. Because San Diego's a great place to be.
Oh, most definitely.
So, yeah, but I would say, I think I was a little surprised to see, the number of Italian films this year, and they're very creative films, by the way, for most of them.
Can you tell they're the Italian films?
No.
No?
No, I can't. I couldn't tell. I had, a lot of these films are so creative, you really don't know. They're not really specific to a particular country. They're more specific to the person, the artist inside the person that's making them. So, and then I'm like, oh my God, it's Italian. Mamma mia, right?
So roughly, like, obviously you have a pretty varied swath of films that are going to be in this festival this year. Like, how long are the films generally?
Well, we have a rule. We started out with a limit of 3 minutes on the films on the first film festival, and then I brought it up to 5 minutes, and I've kept it up between 1 and 5 minutes ever since for the shorts category. And I think, quite honestly, that's a perfect time for most films to be, considering our attention spans. And it's not because we all have ADD, obviously. It's because we all have busy lives, and we can bring them with us with our mobile phones. So we are busy people. And so, and we have a distraction with this, but this is magic, you know. This is the tool, you know. So yeah, 1 to 5 minutes, and then the mobile features, as we started it this last year, was between 20 and 60 minutes in length.
And this was the first time that you...
Yeah. It's always trying to up the game,
right.
You know. Yeah.
So what are you going to do to up the game next year?
Well, we're going to probably push more for the feature films, you know, feature-length films. As we were talking about Tangerine, that was a full 2-hour feature film that came out. There are very few of those out, though, and so we'd really like to promote more of that and see if we can bring them in, you know, into our film festival as well.
Yeah, Tangerine was a movie that we referenced on our last podcast with Susan.
Yeah. Well, you know, a lot of people, I've heard from them, they got picked up by Magnolia Pictures, you know, and so that's right. So to everybody listening, this isn't just for fun. I mean, a lot of people, like we tell them, you know, they're inspired to get it started and things like that, but when people find out that they're skilled and they have talent that we're all born with, because we all grew up with television and film, once you don't know you can swim. It's kind of like that old thing until you get thrown in the water and then, look, I'm floating, I'm okay. So, you know, yeah, definitely. I'd like to inspire more people to go for that, the feature films, and I'd love to help people get their films distributed, you know, to the main arena. I'd like to talk to some of the local theaters to play a series of these films in their, you know, and showcase them in their theaters, you know, maybe a matinee or something like that as well, you know.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
I guess before we go on to the Thunder Round, is there anything else that you'd like to tell us about the film festival?
I actually, you know, I would like to,
Sure.
if you guys
Yeah.
don't mind, mention a few people, because...
This is your show,
Yeah, well,
Susie.
no, it's your show. It's an honor, though. You know, our host for the... I shouldn't say host, but kind of. David Mena, he's a fiduciary here in San Diego. And he's the sponsor for the venue, again this year.
Okay.
So I really do want everyone to know who he is, because he'll be at the film festival as well. But San Diego Real Estate Veterans is also sponsoring again this year, and they sponsored last year. And also we've got a new printer that I didn't know was in town, and they can do things for all sorts of events, including cosplayers. They do all kinds of really cool printing stuff, and they're called Speed Pro of San Diego. It's like, just go to their website, speedpro.com, and look at all the stuff they do. So you know, and then of course I call them honorary sponsors. From the very before, in 2011 is when I reached out to them, and these are Red Giant. And Red Giant does software for post-production and special effects and things like that. Very popular amongst the independent filmmakers. And this year we have another company called Film Convert, and they do color grading for films. And they just added a camera profile, which is an iPhone, you know, to their software. So
Okay.
it's pretty cool.
How about the Samsung?
Samsung, we're working on them.
Oh, yeah.
You know, they're a little hard. I got to find that right point of
LG.
contact.
They're kind of dealing with some stuff right now.
Yeah. Well, it doesn't. You know what? If their phones work, right?
Yeah.
It'll work.
If I make a film with my Samsung, I'll just no filter.
Well, you know, and hopefully you'll be okay. Yeah, and you know, Sony was the first one. They came out with 4K, you know, capability. And last year we had our friends Gulliver Parascandalo and Christine Castle who have Passage Productions. I really like promoting people. I'm sorry, but
No,
anyways,
don't apologize.
they were there. They did a lounge for VR, virtual reality, and they do really great work with virtual reality. And we were kind of daring the filmmakers and the audience, if you can somehow make that work with your phone, we'd love to see them next year. And I know there are apps and things like that coming out, and I'm hoping that for next year, we might have some VR films or something like that we can share, have our own VR, booth for these films. But I think that would be really cool to have VR. I like AR, which is what I discovered that years and years ago.
Augmented reality?
Starbucks. Yeah, well, augmented reality. Starbucks did a thing. I don't know if you saw it, Tracy. It was like the holiday cups. They had like a little cartoon of penguins and things like that. And if you use the Starbucks app, the AR app, what it would do is it would come alive and dance and all these things.
Oh, that's cool.
And now they have sound too. So there's a lot of possibility with that. And they're very popular. They became really popular, I think, to the mainstream with Pokemon Go, And I think that's more interactive than anything. But yeah.
Pokemon Go. It's been a while since I played.
Yeah. Well,
I'm waiting
last
for
year-
Harry Potter Go.
There you
There
go.
you go. That would be awesome. At Disney.
Awesome. I guess we'll just jump right into the Thunder Round. The first question is, yes.
I do want to bring one more thing up.
Oh, sure.
An artist, a filmmaker, a local filmmaker.
Okay.
That has been here in San Diego as a casting agent, and she was a producer, an actor, a director. I met her years and years ago. She was one of the first people that enabled, because I have a lot of video production, history, to get on film sets for independent filmmakers here in San Diego, and then I went on to a couple other places. Her name is Mickey Harrison. She just turned 82 years old yesterday, so belated.
Should we sing happy birthday to her?
Let's sing it.
All right.
All right.
Happy birthday to you, cha-cha-cha. Happy birthday to you, cha-cha-cha. Happy birthday, dear Mickey. Happy birthday to you, cha-cha-cha.
Happy birthday, Mickey.
Everybody got really silent in here.
Well, she was one of the sponsors last year through Lulu Films.
Okay.
And she was inspired, so she made it to the film festival this year. She wrote a screenplay. It's a comedy. It's cute. It's funny, and that's hard to do. She directed, she acted, she wrote it, and produced it. And it's shot on an iPhone 6S. And so that's going to be at the film festival.
Oh, cool.
So I do have to say that because it's just.
Do you always
82
include
years
what
old.
kind of phone it was shot on?
It's one of those data collection things. It's useful to me because I like to see things grow and diversify at the same time, you know what I mean? And show that, because I look at them and go, last year we had a lot of Androids, and this year we had this. We also have Windows phones. Everybody just keeps thinking about the creative community being all about Apple and iPhone, and that's not necessarily true.
Some of us are anti-Apple iPhone
Well,
and
yeah, and I'm not. I'm a
think
total
outside the
Mac head.
Apple box.
But I do have, an open mind, because this is an opportunity for everybody. So it doesn't limit, as long as it's a phone. And literally in the beginning, it could have been a cell phone, whatever it was. As long as it looked decent on the big screen, I would consider it. So, yeah.
Cool. Anybody else you want to promote?
No, I'll just leave
Any
it.
more birthdays?
Yeah, I'm warmed up now. I can sing some
When's your
more.
birthday?
Mine just passed.
Oh, when?
Groundhog Day.
Oh, nice.
Well, we can do it again.
It's okay. Just cut it in. Happy birthday.
Thank you. It's been like a month. It's cool.
It's forgotten already.
I guess the first question of the Thunder Round is, you are prepping for a 12-hour flight. Assuming you sleep 6 hours, what movies or TV shows do you load onto your mobile device to fill the remaining 6 hours you'll be awake? I guess we'll start with Tracy.
That's easy. Star Trek.
Which series?
All of the above. Although I'm loving the how they remastered them. The TNG remasters have been just beautiful. And if you read how they did it and how they basically had to recreate every single frame of every single episode and how many years it took and how many millions of dollars it took, it's kind of going back and rewatching them with all that new remastered everything is pretty mind-blowing.
Oh, I'll have to check that out. I came across a fan-made show called Star Trek Continues. I don't know if you're familiar with it.
Oh, yes. I've interviewed the Captain Kirk who created it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Vic,
the Geekies.
Vic, what's his name?
Yeah, Vic.
Yeah.
And then starts with an M.
Yeah.
Who is by the way the most
Magnola or something like that.
something like that. He's hands down the most knowledgeable Trekkie I've ever met in my life.
Oh wow.
I asked him to guess my favorite original series episode.
Okay.
He didn't get it right the first time, but I gave him one clue and he nailed it.
Oh wow.
And then he threw something back at me that even I didn't know, and that very rarely happens. So I was impressed. Really nice guy.
Yeah, I'm a fan of Todd Haberkorn too. He plays Spock. He's a pretty cool voice actor. They're both voice actors, so yeah, they're pretty cool people.
Me?
Susie?
You know, remember that movie that came out on Netflix, Stranger Things?
Yes.
That show, I should say. I think it was on Independence Day. I watched the entire thing, the entire series. I binge watch. You know, I can't just. I mean, they're available, so I think I would probably that would be something I would load on, just because I've been meaning to get back and because they're going to come out again with a new series. So
right.
I really liked that film. It was one of the most suspenseful, captivating series that I'd seen in a long time. Yeah. It's hard for me to pick favorites for anything, but right now that's the one that comes to mind, you know.
Makes me want to play Dungeons and Dragons again.
And the other one would be like the Back to the Future, you know, the whole series again.
Yeah.
You
Those
know?
are all good.
Yeah, just cause. The DeLorean. Let's go back to the future. I just love the whole the oxymoron of that.
So what time period in the future would you want to go back to?
I would. What time period in the future? Well, we don't know what there is in the future yet, but I would say I would like to go ahead maybe from 10 years and then, you know, stop there, take a break, you know, go see if coffee's still the in thing and all that, right? And then I would like to go and hop over to another 200 years and totally just trip out on how different things are. You know?
We do know what's going to happen in the future. In 2063, there's going to be World War III. Then we're all going to come together. Vulcans are going to fly over. There's going to be first contact.
We'll have a prime directive.
Yeah, no, I'm really I've always been fascinated with the future. I've really always been fascinated with the future. People say, if you could time travel, where would you go in the back? In history, I'm like, nowhere. I want to go forward.
Well, if you had to go back to the past, where would you go?
I wouldn't. I can't think of any time period. I've always thought that your time periods that are really interesting, like, you know, the whole Viking thing and things like that are really interesting. But as a woman, I would not want to be there.
Unless you were a shield maiden.
Yeah.
And the Vikings were actually, not to other cultures' women, but to their own women, they were great.
Yeah, exactly. So, you know, I would probably kick ass if I was back in that time period. But other than that, I really, you know, it's all fascinating. We could go there with the movies. We kind of wear the shoes, you know, and get, you know, you almost feel like you're there. Remember Terminator 2, Judgment Day? I remember walking out of that theater. Yes. That movie, I walked out of the theater and I was still gaming it. I was like, you know, he's following us, speed up, to my boyfriend and stuff like that. It was so funny. He was like, okay. I was like, let's play, you know. Yeah, I love watching all those time periods in the movies. But, yeah, I wouldn't want to go there. I'm just weird like that.
I should specify that First Contact was in 2063. World War III was actually before that.
Okay. Noted.
Before anybody writes me a note.
Right.
Well, that's how we get connected. We make contact.
There we go.
How about you, Anthony?
You know, I'm not the best candidate for this question. I'm not much of a...
Well, okay, what music would you want to
What
hear?
music?
Yeah.
Even then, too, this is weird. I mean, I'm weird to begin with because I'm like a guy who creates all the time, right? I am a musician. I'm a filmmaker. I'm all that. I do all this stuff. So I tend to like work on more stuff. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Stranded on a flight, if I'm not working on something, I probably catch a nap. But yeah, no. Anything. If anything, I would be catching up on movies that I was behind on. You know what I mean? Like all these Oscar-nominated ones that I haven't caught this year. I'm like, you know, I tend to get. And here's the other sad part about being an actor and filmmaker: you start looking at films differently. It's hard for me to get lost in the fantasy or the fiction of it when I'm looking at technical stuff, and I'm like, I start ruining it for the people who I talk to. You know, it's like, oh, now I can't watch TV the same once you told me that what's happening there, and I'm like. So I'm kind of like lost in that mind all the time where I'm just trying to, you know, but one thing is cool is I do get inspired by other films like, I like that idea. You know, I might apply that next time to something I'm doing. So.
That's how I am with Foley. My stepdad was a Foley artist, so if I hear bad Foley, it's like alarm bells ringing in my brain, and I'm
you're
like,
distracted. You're distracted at that point. Like everything else is like,
You know what I look at in films a lot of times because I used to be a script supervisor with continuity and things like that. The background and the glares, you know. Oh, look, there's the studio light shining in. It's coming out from that oven door. Hello, you know, and there's that extra that's just pretending. I saw something on Facebook the other day. The guy's like sweeping, you know, like a janitor, but his broom is like, you know, 6 feet on top of the ground, and he's pretending. Great.
Yes, I'm well aware of that situation.
So to all the directors, yes. They will notice.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Well, the next question is, SpaceX is trying to get people to the moon again. Name 4 other people who you would want to go with you, and why would you want them to take this dangerous journey with you?
Alive or dead, or just alive?
You can do alive or dead.
Awesome.
Tracy?
to go to we're staying there for good, or
No.
we're coming back?
You can come back. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Let's see.
We're not going to Mars. We're going to the moon.
I mean, well, it's SpaceX. Why not Elon Musk?
Okay.
Right. Maybe Patrick Stewart. Felicia Day.
Okay. Nice.
My mom, Mama Jedi.
Mama Jedi.
Gotta have Mama Jedi. And my best friend.
Who's your best friend?
Who's my best friend?
My best friend?
Okay.
They know who they are.
Oh, okay. We'll leave it at that. Susie, what 4 people would you want to bring with you? Why?
I'm like counting 4 right here and all the fun that we're having, and I'm like, you know, it'd be hard to pick just 4 people to be there. I know that you asked me a similar question during the last podcast of who would I like to have for dinner with me to go to dinner or something like that, but something like this, I mean, honestly, I think I would like to pick some people's brains, you know, if I was going there, but you know, I didn't know about Steve Jobs before until like he died. So I would kind of want to pick his brain, regardless of what, you know, the stories that go around. It's like, you know, there's always a backstory, so the one story not being told. So I'd like to kind of see if that would be possible. But honestly, all 4 of you are pretty cool. Are you guys having fun? Because I'm having a blast here.
I'm definitely having fun.
So definitely. And also, you know, I got to meet Conrad Mess in LA once in 2012, right before a film festival. So I'd like to definitely bring him along because I'd love to be able to bring him to San Diego as well, but I can't. So I would like to do that because that's another brain I'd like to pick and have some neat conversations. Can I bring my dog, Tico?
Sure.
Okay, then he's on because he's my BFF. Yeah.
What kind of dog is he?
Oh, then my cat's got to come.
Yeah, there you go, right? So, and then the other one, who should I, like, I don't know. I mean, we're talking about people who are dead or alive and things like that, but what about like fictional characters? I'd like to bring Batman.
Okay.
Over, that's if I could.
Did you talk to Tracy about Batman? Your Batman idea?
My Batman. Not yet.
Oh, okay.
No. I'm gonna though.
Okay, all right.
By the way, I have the same pants.
Oh, thank you.
I love that.
She's not talking to me.
Thankfully.
Poor Anthony. How you doing there, Alex?
All right.
My 4. Okay. I think Prince would be one, Michael Jackson another, Tupac, and now I got to see who's be cool, to hang out with, tripping out that we're hanging out with these 3 other people. Probably alive. I'm thinking, no, maybe not alive. Mozart would be an interesting cat to throw into this mix, because wouldn't it, from the historical standpoint, and he was crazy himself a little bit.
I think he would love that collection of people.
The eccentricities of the other. Oh yeah, that would be an interesting, concert to hang out
Prince
with.
might
Jam
just
session.
be him reincarnated, right?
Right. And so, see the possibilities.
Those are interesting answers. I guess we'll go in reverse order because my next question was, what song, album, or artist would you want to be listening to on Liftoff?
Oh, that's a good one. Wow. Oh my God. It's so funny because I'm like hip hop, I'm rock, I'm all that. But I listen to really just good songs. What would be a Liftoff song? Well, like Tom Petty comes to mind, but I'm like no. What's that Star Troopers song? You know what I'm talking about? Yeah.
Starship Troopers?
Starship Troopers, is it? Yeah, that it was a popular pop.
Yeah, when they were getting all pumped up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That I wish I could remember that one. It's and I'm visualizing everything right now. It'll come to me. Starship Troopers.
This is the worst possible question
I
you could ask me.
know.
I never remember music. I remember movies and actors all day long.
I'd look it up and play it for you.
Terrible with.
I think Alex is looking it
Oh,
up.
please, Alex, give me the title of that song.
Alex to the rescue.
Starship Troopers theme song.
That would be cool.
Yeah, that's the one that comes like just my instinct is saying that song. Even though I'm not like a super fan of that band or anything like that.
Yeah.
That's the song that comes to mind. I'm sorry. You're like, what song is it? I don't know what it is. Anyone? No?
I don't know. I'm done. I got distracted with my own iTunes.
Or okay, I'll just go backwards on that one. How about let's go to Eminem's "Lose Yourself" is always a good little pump me up. Let's go, mock speed and break out of this atmosphere kind of song.
Cool. All right. Susie? Oh, wait, hold on. We got
They're like
false alarm.
Yeah.
I wonder how that sounds with the. It's hard to pick one particular song, but I would say just about anything, but maybe Steam Machine from Daft Punk might be a cool one.
I love Daft Punk.
I love Daft Punk.
Yeah,
That's a total mood setter. It's just, I think he's got it.
Did Tracy get it?
Wait, what?
Oh, wait. Oh.
No.
Oh, you're.
Sorry.
Well, they're still Googling.
It's not really a theme, but it's like the
I guess you can give your answer, Tracy, while they're looking for the song.
Out of all the questions you asked, right? This is the one.
This is I know.
I am trying to help out, but I thought
should take video
I
of
thought
this.
It was coming up on my turn.
I was just
so.
gonna say, I need to take a photo because everybody's got their phones and they're all just like typing and sliding.
Oh, see, my problem is I have my fingers are always cold, so I'm really bad at. Anyway, well, I'll tell you my song. I'm
Okay.
going to stick with my Star Trek theme and go with Magic Carpet Ride.
All right.
Steppenwolf.
Oh,
First
that's
Contact.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Man. Wow, cool.
Because I'm really bad with songs, so I'm just going to steal someone else. I'm going to steal a fictional character's song.
Right.
No, that was a good one.
And Battlestar Galactica, their theme song, the
Oh,
original
yeah.
one, that one was good too.
Isn't that Bear McCreary?
I don't know.
think
I'm not
it
as
is.
savvy as you.
He's
are
the guy
with
who
that.
does the theme for Walking Dead,
Oh.
for Black Sails, for Outlander.
I didn't
I think
know
it was.
that.
I think he did the
Interesting.
BSG theme.
Wow.
I was telling somebody on their film they had a zombie movie, and they were doing like a series, and they were asking, and I was telling them they used music that wasn't copyrighted or whatever, and they were looking for songs, and I said, the one thing you do want to do when you're doing a series is you want to keep that music consistent, and I gave them the example of The Walking Dead. Say, that song is consistent, that theme song is consistent throughout the movie, and that's branding your film that way. So, that's pretty cool. That's right.
Like
That
when the
is-
Avengers theme goes
Yeah.
throughout all the
Yeah.
MCU movies.
Yeah, and so half the picture is sound. So.
I think we've almost got the song. It looks promising. No?
I don't know.
I guess we'll have to circle back on that one.
I will find it. I will find it.
If any of our listeners would like
I know.
to
Please cut in.
tell us what this song
Please
is.
call in 1-800, or is it 1-900?
I guess we'll circle back and hopefully we can find that song.
I know. I'm serious. I didn't make
After
this up.
show,
It's
we're
real.
just trying to
Once we
figure
have the
it out.
wrong song or the wrong
See what
movie,
you started.
I know.
All right. We'll go to the next question.
Not a problem.
A lot of famous chefs often ponder what their last meal would be. Surprisingly, a lot of them opt for relatively simple dishes. For instance, Eric Ripert from the New York three-starred seafood restaurant, three Michelin-starred restaurant called Le Bernardin, opted for black truffles with bread, olive oil, salt, and of course some good Bordeaux. What would be your last meal and why?
I'd go with the Ninja Turtles and go for pepperoni pizza.
Ooh.
I mean, if it's your last meal, who cares, what it does to you.
Do you have a favorite pizza joint?
It used to be, no, because when I was a kid, La Bella Pizza in Chula Vista, I think it is, or National City.
It's in Chula Vista.
Yeah, it's Chula Vista. They used to be really, really good. For a family, we would just eat all our fingernails and everything, just waiting for that pizza. But they've changed since then. They were family owned and the mom died or something like that, and then they changed. So it's hard for me to pick a good pizza place, probably also because I try to stay away from eating the pizza all the time.
Tracy?
The fresh. Okay, so I have a special place in my heart for Fresh Brothers gluten-free crust cheese pizza. It's I'm not even gluten-free, but when we were doing Pod Thingy, we would always get pizza from Fresh Brothers before we just started drinking all day.
Okay.
While doing the podcast.
Good plan.
It was an excellent plan. A lot of our guests took
During the
advantage of that. Oh yeah. Oh
Nice.
yeah. Grinks with deeks. That's what we called it. But we all became addicted. Well, our leader, John Mulhall, fantastic horror writer, he is gluten-free. And so we all became addicted to this gluten-free crust that they have at Fresh Brothers.
okay.
And now it's the only crust I'll get there.
Okay.
Is the gluten-free crust. And it's fantastic.
Wow.
I was going to say, what about Pizzeria Uno? I haven't had them in a long time. I had a birthday there, and I couldn't get enough pizza, but I don't know if they're still around.
I'm not sure.
They were off of, I think it was Balboa or Mission Bay Drive or something like that in PB, the one that I went to.
Oh, lefse. I would eat lefse too.
Left side?
Lefse is a Norwegian flatbread made with potatoes.
Okay.
You put a little butter on there, some cinnamon and sugar. Oh, it's like heaven in your mouth.
Ooh, I love potatoes.
I love seafood too. I mean, everybody think, automatically when you first ask that question, it's like lobster, things like that. Growing up in Spain, a lot of the tapas involve fish, and things like that, seafood.
Paella.
Oh, I know how to make that stuff.
don't
people
believe you.
probably think I'm an alcoholic at home.
I think you
with
should
bottles of
demonstrate.
Yeah,
stuff.
we need proof.
I could. I was thinking about doing a blog for all the recipes that I have from growing up with my grandmother in Spain, basically cooking a
Right.
lot. And I love to cook with alcohol and wine and beer.
Susan
even.
Seafood.
Yeah. But the thing is, whenever I share a recipe, they're usually kind of comical because I can't just, be normal.
Well, recipes are just
bad.
guides.
You want to see
they're
comical?
kind of
About
funny.
5 years ago, I tried to do a cooking segment. It's called Cooking with Hot Nerd Girl. They are on YouTube. And it's like watching a comedy of errors. I
That's
am
awesome.
not a good cook. And because I was being filmed while doing it,
makes
it's
it harder.
even worse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's me. You know, I was
One of the
telling you, I was
recipes didn't even make it.
We'll have to
I was
link to
really
that
good
on
at
the
the
show
alcohol
notes.
ones, though.
Just change the name, the recipe, the attempts, like a band.
Sometimes those are even more amusing,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
You know, when my mom would start to burn the food, it actually tasted better. You know, because there's some food that you cook in the pressure cooker. And I had friends that were very scared of pressure cookers. They've heard of stories where they blow up and all these things. I was like, you know.
I remember a pressure cooker scene in I Love Lucy.
You know where? Do you remember the Radio Flyer, that movie with Elijah Wood, where they were doing this magical weird concoction and they put it in the pressure cooker and it blew up? Remember that scene? Yeah. That's pretty much real, though. That's what it looks like. There was one time in my whole life that I've seen that happen. And my mom we had company, you know, at the house, and
Of course.
my parents and everybody were in the living room, which was next to the kitchen, and we heard this
Wow.
explosion, and literally all this food is like all over the walls,
Oh my
the
gosh.
ceiling, and I was like, I'm going out to play. I'm not gonna get stuck cleaning this. Where's the ice cream truck? So
Oh, that's 2 out of 3 for pizza. How about you, Anthony?
I lean towards pizza, Philly steak sandwiches. Yeah, no super chef required for me at the end there. So, nah, just kind of some French fries. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess the consensus is there is, you know, something simple. And,
What about you?
Me?
yeah.
Well, you know, I'm Filipino, and my dad is an awesome cook. And every year for my birthday, he makes this soup called sinigang. It's like a sour soup, and he makes like chicken adobo, and
That's good.
those are 2 dishes. They're really simple to make, but they remind me of when I was a kid,
Yeah.
and those are my dishes that I would want for my last meal. How about you, Alex?
I just like
Alex is
steak
here.
and seafood.
He needs a chef.
All right.
Have you ever tried alligator?
Maybe I
It
think I
tastes
have.
like chicken.
Yeah,
Yes.
pretty much, but kind of like gamey chicken, if that makes sense.
How about frog?
I haven't had that, but I'm imagining it tastes anything like between
I heard it tastes like chicken.
chicken
Yeah.
and
You know,
alligator.
like snails. It's like usually when they cook it, they're drenched in sauce. So
I
it's-
tried snails
Yeah.
in Spain.
Uh-huh.
My grandmother, I guess she had like high blood pressure and things like that, and she wasn't allowed to. But there was a vendor that came around, with that stuff, and I was just so curious to try it. And she was eating it with like this pin, like a pin, and she would, eat it. And I was like, I really want to try this because you look like you're just in heaven. And as gross as this looks to me, I just gotta try it. I think I was like 7 at the time. And I tried it, and I went, this tastes like boogers. It was just,
I guess you know what boogers
saying
taste like,
that,
right?
but I hate that word and everything, but it's really the only thing I could think of at the time.
It's funny when you think about like all the food that we eat these days. Somebody had to try it at least once.
Yeah. Somebody.
Oh yeah, if
But
you
then
watch
I saw how
Bizarre
they're cooked.
Foods,
Yeah.
necessity, out of necessity, in some of these foods.
It's crazy. Like obviously there's like mushrooms. There's good mushrooms and there's bad mushrooms. It's
Oh,
like
yeah.
I feel bad for the person that had the bad mushrooms.
Or it's like, fresh, what do you call it? The raw seafood, sushi. Ask me anything. Sushi for me. I can't touch the raw fish just because I grew up in Spain and in the southern part of Spain where they cook all their fish and stuff like that. And to me, they just seem dangerous. And, I've heard the nightmare stories about. I remember going to a sushi place and the chef told me, if it smells like fish, don't eat
eat it.
there. Yeah, so I'm
Well,
like,
don't get your sushi from like a gas station.
right,
You know,
yeah,
like
there
go
you
to a
The
decent
AM,
sushi
PM
place.
special sushi.
Although, if you watch the documentary
Yeah.
Jiro Dreams of Sushi, his sushi place is in a subway station.
Oh, that's got to be different. Right?
I guess, can you tell us one geeky moment from your childhood that helped shape the geek you are today? I guess we'll start with Tracy.
A geeky moment from my childhood.
Yeah.
It's so hard to pick just one because I don't remember a life without Star Trek. My parents were huge Trekkies. I remember watching the first episode of TNG, not but and I was just I've been a huge Trekkie my whole life. But when I think I was 12, and I got my first Starfleet uniform, and it was a legit one that you'd use on set. And for a very brief time, they were selling these, and you couldn't get even the next time we were there, you couldn't get these things anymore. It was just the shirts, and you had to provide your own pants and all that.
Right.
So that thing is wrapped in plastic. It's a treasure item of mine, and I remember putting that on for the first time and thinking, this I was born in the wrong time period. This is what I was meant to be. I was meant to be a Starfleet captain. So, and then I got really depressed that I was not a Starfleet captain.
You know, I have to say something about, you can't ever knock anybody's dreams when they're children, I want to be an artist. Oh, Susie, you got to be able to make a living with that. Who would say that to a cosplayer? That's an industry now, and some of
if
them
you'd
are
have told me
making a
that 15
living.
years ago, I would have laughed.
Right? So,
Never would have believed
for
you.
that parent, whose kids say, well, I want to be Spider-Man or something like that, and they're going, wow, honey, it's like, don't knock it, because you don't know what the future will bring, don't rub off, don't erase.
It's funny you mention that because I'm a huge Neil deGrasse Tyson fan, and he would say something. I remember him recounting a story that, when your kids are like banging on pots and pans in the kitchen, you shouldn't stop them because they're experimenting.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's funny. Yeah.
They're finding their way.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I would say for me, it wouldn't be, I told you Speed Racer was like my first crush.
I remember.
and all that. But I think it was really more about the whole comic book scene and the movies that came out, like the original Adam West Batman, that song and everything. It was like the
Climbing up the roof.
right,
Same bat channel, same bat time.
the Joker, the Riddler, all that stuff was awesome. But I would say it was the whole comic book scene, even the tebeos, which is what they're called in Spain, because that's what my grandmother would read to me while other grandmas are reading Little Red Riding Hood and all that stuff to their kids. And mine, she would give me, I think it amounted to 10 cents or something, and I would go and buy the newest comic book, and at night she would sit down and read them to me. So
Yeah.
I
I remember you
was,
telling us about that in the last podcast.
That was like, and this is not to put our listeners, right, through having to go back to that podcast again.
Yeah.
I do remember the first time I really discovered comic books, and it was so because I grew up I was a Navy brat, and we moved around
Me too.
a lot.
too.
Yeah.
Yay!
How about you, Anthony?
No.
You suck.
I know.
No, but we moved, and we moved to a new area, and my brother and I were both very shy, and I remember we discovered a comic book store up the street, and discovering that there was, because I'm Norwegian and Danish, and I grew up with the Norse mythology and all this stuff, and discovering that there was a comic book Thor, and discovering X-Men, it was huge because they were such outsiders, and my brother and I felt like such outsiders, and we just went on a binge collecting the H2 trading cards, the X2 series of trading cards, if you remember those. And man, I would just sit there and I would just read those things over and over again. I had every one of those facts memorized. That was a pivotal moment for sure.
Cool.
Yeah,
Anthony?
I had a lot of collections of comic books. I had to sell them all when we moved here from Spain. My dad was like, "No, we're not taking." I had hundreds of comic books.
Did you hear about the guy who in England who he created a paper mache sculpture out of comic book pages? And a guy went to this this event and realized that it was a #1 Avengers worth £10,000.
Oh my God.
And then he started looking at all the other comics, and the other 10 or so comics that he had used to create this sculpture were also combined worth about another £10,000. So this is a £20,000 sculpture, and I'm sorry, but it's not like a great, like he did this like on a whim. Like he found a box of comic books and was like, I'll use these. But the thing that blew my mind was that he is somehow involved, like he owns a comic book store or something. And somehow he didn't realize
Right.
when you see the page is right there and it says Avengers 1. Like, wouldn't you look it up?
Yeah, Yeah, definitely.
Oh my
That's
gosh.
really, really
Yeah.
cool. That's really cool. That kind of reminds me of sometimes, like when I first got my Canon GL2, this is going way back. And I was thinking, I'm such a pro now because I got a pro camera. And I know all these buttons and I practice and I learned them all. And, I was going to college and all that too and learn all this stuff. But, here we are, got people making movies with their phones, and they are extraordinary. You know what I mean? As versus someone who gets a very expensive $20,000 camera, but doesn't have the story, the captivating element to it. Probably because they could have spent those $2,000, $20,000 on crew and people like that, good director, great content, and things like that. Instead of the camera, it gives more power to it. But I don't know. That idea just came up when you were talking about that. The content, is key.
I mean, to build on that, and I'll get back to when my geeky moment was, I guess, as I still contemplate that. I think it's here and now, but I mean, no, I'm kidding. Anyway, what you just said, I think it's going to be interesting, or it is interesting to me, that traditional filmmakers aren't really receptive or ready to cross over to this new, I guess, avenue. And then you get people that are going to be new, and of course they should try and do what they can, but not everyone's going to be talented or skilled to do it, right? So if anything, enjoy yourself. But then there will be some artists that emerge from this, and they're the ones that can actually take, a pencil and a pad and make something amazing versus, like you were mentioning, somebody with a race car who doesn't even have a license to drive it, and wrecks it on the first shot. So I think you get a mixture of both. But as it all kind of settles down, I'm kind of one of those persons that wants to see the traditional filmmakers cross over and see what they can do in this type of this arena. I myself, I don't consider myself a traditional filmmaker, but that's where I come from, and that I'm an actor in regular films and stuff like that, and I know I'm unique in my own way, where I'm a composer, musician, all that stuff first, so I'm able to do the entire film by myself. But I'm not the only one out there who has filmmaking skills that can even try to see what they can do with this avenue. They all want to. I don't know if they're. I won't say they're being negative, but they're not ready to cross over. Just like it was interesting. Just like years ago when actors wouldn't act on TV. Film actors wouldn't, but all of a sudden now they're on TV.
Or be in an advertisement.
Exactly. So now I'm waiting for this to see like some real people go like, oh, what am I?
That's where Jeff Goldblum went.
We do have a filmmaker that is actually traditional, that is coming to the film festival from Canada, but he's actually pretty much as successful as any other traditional filmmaker. Really, really impressive, and I'll just have to kind of leave it at that because, like, again, I don't want to blow that, but yeah, we're starting to really see that.
When you mentioned was it the Heartland Film Festival, to have those people, promote their, or at least want to get their hat involved in at the beginning, it's like the threshold of crossing over to, I guess, regular stream main media kind of thing?
Kind of. I mean, media is always changing. It's fluid in a lot of ways. So, I mean, in the end, remember when you had to know a publisher and cut a deal with a book publisher to get your book and all this stuff? And now this is years and years later where it's like, oh, you could write your own book. You put it on.
I don't know. Have any of you guys seen the making of, or it's the pilot of Always Sunny in Philadelphia or whatever? Have you seen that one? It's on YouTube, and it's when they made the pilot, and when you go watch this and see what they made it with, these cell phones are more advanced with what they made their pilot with, and it got on a network and so forth and so on. And watch the video; it's amazing. But the point being is that if you have the content, decent, way to capture it and convey your message or your story, You know, and you can kind of convince the big boys. They'll come in and start putting some money into it. And like them, not right away do they get even more money punched in until they added like Danny DeVito to it, and then of course more money came, and so it's just, you know, again, it's just getting going and started. That's the whole thing, I think.
And in your world with the actors, you know, to have more, you know, really good actors get involved with mobile filmmakers, because that also helps with that content. You know, it's hard for a mobile filmmaker to go to a successful actor, you know, even if it's just within their own community, you know, and say, hey, could you, you know, do this, you know, I wrote the screenplay, and you know, they get kind of excited, and then they're like, oh, you're gonna shoot it with your phone, huh?
Oh, exactly.
You know,
No, you're right, and
you go on the list.
I was fortunate that my actress in my film, who has other films that she's becoming leads in, and she's before any of this, she's actually an amazing painter, artist, you know. I'm fortunate because it was easy with her, because she was in the International Mobil Film Festival last year as a film presenter. So when I asked, someone who's in normal films or whatever to be in my film, of course she was ready to go for it. You know, seeing my story and then how I was going to film any content. And again, it's still kind of like, you know, it's still new. So like, you know, how's it going to come out? Well, obviously we were pleased with the outcome. But the point being is that, you know, I'm somebody who will continue to seek work in the traditional, I guess, film markets and whatnot. But I am also not going to wait till I have the funds and the budgets and the, you know, the crews and the actors to get my films going when I can now do this. And I think when you see my film that you'll see that that it's, you know, it competes actually with those made traditionally. So, you know, I'm ready to keep going. I already have 2 films ready to start, even after this first one I just completed. So.
Great. We're looking forward to what you come up with. I was recently on Ken Rodder's Dumbbells and Dragons podcast recently, and he asked me an interesting question. What mundane superpower do you wish you had? So basically it's like, he said the power that he would want is you're driving down traffic. You would know where to go to like get
He'd
through.
be like to be a human Waze app.
Yeah, exactly. And then I think I answered, you know, I wish I could fill up my gas tank just like that. And then I just bought a new phone, and I kind of thought, I wish I could see the trajectory of things as they fall.
That's what I was gonna say.
I could catch it.
Superpowers are right here.
Yeah.
We believe as a society, we believe in magic because of these things. Like when I first started telling people about this, they were like, really? You know, it's like, oh, and then the whole thing about there's an app for that. When that came out, it was like, now you bring up things to people just as a joke. Well, did you know that you can actually get teletransported to... They're like, yeah, I believe it. The things they can do these days. I'm like, did you hear what I just said? You know? And it's like, people believe in magic, you know? So that's when you were just talking about that as a superpower. It's like, yeah, maybe there's an app for that.
Tracy?
I mean, my real life superpower is that I've never had a hangover, knock on wood.
That's a good superpower to have.
But,
She said she was a Viking, right? Is that
that's right, skull.
That's pretty cool.
No, I mean, it's cheesy and it's so cliche, but I've always wanted to fly. I'm a very avid dreamer, and I fly in my dreams all the time.
Okay.
So, I kind of started out with like Superman, where, you know, at first he could just really leap really far, you know,
Right.
and then he could fly. Once the cartoon came out, then all of a sudden he could fly because he just wanted to use the same background over and over again.
Right.
So that's kind of me. Like I started out like with these really long jumps where I'm basically like every few miles or so I kind of bounce, and then at some point I just fly.
Like the Hulk.
That's right. There you go.
You know, that's funny because that's what I was going to say, but now I can't do that. But yeah, I've had dreams where I
You
fly.
can say it. We both like pizza.
Right?
We can fly together.
I think my superpower would be to give out superpowers, which would be awesome because it's like, hey, why don't you get out of my way? Here, superpower, you can fly now.
The exact opposite of Rogue.
Right?
Oh, exactly.
So that would be cool. But I've had dreams of flying. Isn't it like swimming in air? That's what it was like for me. Maybe because I loved swimming underwater more than on top. I feel like I look like a flopping dork on top.
Mine's more of a
Underwater
floating,
is-
like
yeah.
a floating sensation. Not so much underwater,
It
but
is,
just kind
yeah.
of.
And my arms kind of like, with the wings, and you're like trying to keep balanced in the air, and it's a little bit of a, like there's, I don't know. It is kind of like in water, but up in the air, and you're flying above. I jumped off a beach cliff and started flying in my dream, and then I realized I was dreaming. And I was like, oh my God, this is awesome. I can totally go wherever I want.
Really?
Now. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's amazing.
It was really cool. And that's happened to me a few times where I've had, what was the name of that movie? You're in a dream within a dream within a dream.
Inception?
Yes, I experienced that a few times in my life. And so as soon as the film came out, the first time I saw it, I'm like, oh yeah, I get that. But yeah, it's flying would be the one, and again, giving out superpowers, having the power to give powers.
So Anthony, what mundane power would you want, and what like really awesome superpower would you want?
The mundane, the ability to pause time. And not, long stints, but just, a few seconds here and there in case I wanted an extra slice of pizza, on a ship that we were all cruising on and everyone was going to get the last one and I could pause it and grab it really quick. That kind of stuff. A crazy superpower would be to... Well, I used to get all these visions in my mind, and you took away the cool ones, I think. No, I think... Man, I don't have any... I guess flying is the coolest one to do at all. I mean, you know what I mean?
We all want to fly.
Get everywhere here and there quickly. And
Who doesn't want to fly?
Yeah,
right?
Even if you'd rather have another superhero, you still want to fly,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, definitely.
that's right.
Yeah.
I guess we'll jump into the art watch, where we put the spotlight on some artists that we've seen or recently caught our attention online or at a convention. You want to head that off, Alex?
I was just going through our Instagram and artists that we follow, and one that popped out just because of the movie Logan that came out was artist James Hance. He goes on Instagram by Jim Giroux, JimJeroo, and it's just some real cool illustrations of Logan, and it was a real nice piece. So that's my pick for our art watch, James Hance.
I guess I'll pick one. For those of you who have listened to our podcast in the past, I've referenced Poster Posse quite frequently. An artist that's part of that collective, his name is Kaz Umori. He's a really stylized illustrator from Japan. He does some awesome work. Some of the pieces that caught my eye is his tribute projects for Doctor Strange. He actually had some officially licensed projects for Star Wars. So if you get a chance, check him out online. And his website is tunegraphic.com, TUNEGRAFIK.com. So tunegraphic.com, and that's Kaz Amori. Do any of you guys have an artist that you guys follow?
I just have so many that, not even by name, but I would say that Rick, who was in the Comic-Con with us, Rick Narvaez, he's an artist as well, and he also makes these really cool films. He hasn't tried it with a smartphone yet, so, but he does.
Get with the
pretty
picture, Rick.
I know, right?
Get it together.
It's like, well, he's always busy doing all this stuff, but he's actually graduating from UCSD now. So, but yeah, I think he does really cool work with, and you could do this with film as well. But he really knows how to combine and connect sound and play tricks with sound and picture, and I think that's really, really interesting. I think he's gifted in that way. But he's very modest, so I thought I'd throw it out in public. But as far as like art, I've always been attracted to the Japanese art since I was a little kid as well. There's like I was talking about the comic books in Spain, a very unique style of, like the French have their style, and all that stuff. But I would say anime artists, just name one, I'd probably, they're just so cool.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And then there's Lizette Ben Ray.
You just took away my artist I was talking about.
Snap.
It's all right, I got a second one, don't worry.
Yeah, good. Good. No, she's very artistic too, with visuals and things like that. In the
She's an abstract painter.
Yeah.
She's an artist. She's a painter. It's legit. Look her up. She's the lead actress in my film.
right.
All right.
And they met at my.
Yes, we did meet. Now I was about to tie in my other artist here,
Go for it.
who I met indirectly. I should say I met you indirectly. So his name, I never say his last name perfectly. Jose Idriaga.
Iturriaga.
Iturriaga. I was trying to look it up so I could read it, and you cut me off. You jumped in too soon. So Jose, amazing graphic artist, designer, set designer. He actually got his film into your International Film Festival on the 2015?
Yeah.
And that is the first time I learned about the International Film Festival via him. And I was like, oh, okay, it exists. Well, I have a music video, and that's when then I got started, and the rest is the story. Anyway, let's go backwards here. Jose, I want to put a plug for him because there's a film I'm in called, here we are doing plugs again. It's called Penance. It's still coming out. Dante Moran is the writer, director, whatever, filmmaker. That he did like me. He does everything on it. But Jose was the set designer. Amazing. He even just for fun, he puts out some. I mean, he's a big Star Wars, Star Trek geek. I mean, he's all that. I mean, and an amazing artist. So
He does storyboarding.
he does
too.
storyboarding. If you guys need people for films and whatnot, he does storyboarding. He does. I mean, the guy does anything. You really got to look him up. He's got, I believe, his Facebook page, or at least his art page is Kuze Art, Kuzeh. I was going to look it up so I can.
Yeah,
give
he's
you
on
exa- Yeah,
Instagram.
he's on
Yeah.
Instagram. He's on Facebook. Look him up. Great artwork. As I mentioned, set designing. He used to do it commercially, whatnot, and he's been trying to go from commercial artistry into more like creative for film. And
We were going to do in 2015, except for it rained. We were at Grossmont College. We were going to do a little film during the film festival with the filmmakers that came, and then it rained and poured on us, and we didn't get a chance to. But he did a storyboard for us in that way, and it was pretty cool. I mean, it looked like a comic book.
Oh, it's
'Cause
crazy.
he's so
So I'm on
artistic.
film set, right? And we're doing a torture scene. It's a scary, it's a scary movie, Penance, that I'm in. And he's like, okay, yeah, we're going to do this and this and that. In minutes, he drew up a platform that I'll be sitting on, being pulled apart, like strapped up and everything. And the figure was there, the shape of the head, the legs are within seconds. And we're like, whoa, okay, that's what it's going to look like. But he was able to do it on the spot. I mean, that's how good he is.
So the Nerdist?
Yes.
So
Yeah.
a friend of mine was just on, just Jen. She does all the recipes for the Nerdist, Jen Fujikawa. Anyway, so she just featured a friend of mine. He's very, very talented artist, but what he does is in the mornings, he does these 1 to 5 minute napkin sketches every single day for his
yeah.
daughters.
Right.
And he even started doing a choose your own adventure one
that's awesome.
it was just amazing. So if, check out his other art as well, but he's kind of got this napkin thing going on.
That's awesome.
It's really cool. And
Cool.
it's on Instagram and Twitter, he's at Ben Risbeck, which is BenRisbeck. And then on Facebook, it's Art of Ben Risbeck.
Okay. Cool.
Definitely worth checking out.
I guess we'll start wrapping up the show. Those are some awesome artists, and we'll add those to the show notes. For this last segment, before we close, it's going to be a flash forward. And I'd like for you all to sort of talk about some projects you have in the pipeline and where people can find you online. We'll start with Anthony.
Oh, okay. I'm kind of a crazy guy. It's easier to find me online. So I've got several projects in the works. I have a documentary that's close to San Diego that's still in the works, being filmed. It's about the Juan Rodriguez Cabrillo who discovered San Diego. It was filmed, or it's still being filmed, but it was on the new maritime ship they put down in the harbor, the San Salvador. I got this. Yeah, did you? Oh yeah, sweet. I got to spend like 8 days filming on that ship out in the ocean and stuff like that. But the launching? No, tell me more. So I got that going on. I just completed a short film where I scored the music for it, which is now hitting the festival circuit. It just got accepted to the Christian Film Festival because it's a faith-based type film. The first film at the Hotel Del. 20, 40 years. I happen to get a part in. I'm stoked about that. will premiere in May, right
They have
behind.
a theater there, huh?
Yes, they will be showing. I think the
Cool to
red.
have a film festival there.
Yeah. Oh, they do have one. It's called the Coronado Film Festival.
Maybe we can run.
There you go. So that's a great film. If you get a chance to look it up, it's called The Daydream Hotel. Tony Perry, the director, used to work for Disney like many years. If you guys ever got to go on the Captain EO ride, he's actually the guy in the film that tells you about the film with Michael Jackson and everything,
Cool.
And so that's kind of cool. I got the film Penance coming out, which is a horror flick made here in San Diego. A lot of San Diego actors and contributors, including the artists that I mentioned, We've got the Mobil Film Festival coming out. My next film called Beggar Me is in the works as well. So I got a few things going on, and some I'm forgetting, I'm sure. But I'm very fortunate to be busy, and you can find information on me. You can find my film resume, I guess, at imdb.me/Anthony De La Cruz. That's 3 words, De La Cruz. But all one word, Anthony De La Cruz. No. And then Facebook stuff I kind of keep feeding. I know I'm not the big Instagram professional I need to be, but facebook.com/AnthonyDeLaCruz.actor. You can find info that I feed all the time, including, putting a little post about what's going on right here today. So.
Cool. Tracy?
And inspiring his daughter.
Oh, yes,
yeah.
and my inspired daughter who is... Honestly, I can't wait for her next film to come out. Honestly, because that's
can't either.
it's her real approach. I looked at the script already. I'm like, who, how, where? I don't know who taught her this stuff. I mean, she. Side note, and I mentioned this earlier. That I wasn't going to mention. Maybe I will, but I will now. She, I'm proud of my daughter because in the fact that she faced an obstacle that she just basically worked around. You know what I mean? I talked about the Robert Rodriguez 10-minute film school. I really pushed that because he basically, the message there is just get started. If you're anticipating a problem in your production, if you're sitting back at the start, worrying about the problem that's going to come near the end, you'll never get started. So just go. Well, my daughter, who is my stepdaughter, she had her phone taken away by not me, the other guy. And I know I don't mean to make anyone look bad, but he had his reasons, I guess. So he took away her iPhone, and he was upset because it was like a social media app that she was making her film with and whatnot. And she had actually gotten the app from your young filmmaker last year from Australia, who talked to my daughter and kind of inspired her to make her own film and said, "Oh, I use this iPhone app, use this, I think iFilm or something like that." Yeah,
Shayla,
exactly. Yes.
Carson.
So it was great that my daughter met her there because then she was inspired to do her thing. Well, he took it away because he thought it was a social media kind of thing, or okay. So, then we had to talk to him about like, hey, this is her little tool, her outlet she's making films with. So he decides to, find her one that's not so social media oriented. Well, he finds her a Lego app, okay? Yes, my daughter is young, but not that young, okay? But she was able to still create a short film, just over a minute, with stop motion, Oh, it's crazy, yeah. And I'm like, well, you did what with what? I'm like, whoa. So, of course, I went out and got her own camera. That way there's no other issues of it ever being taken away.
And it has a message.
Oh, and then there's a message in her. My daughter has hearing aids, and it's a message about bullying, and it's about, the hearing impaired and what they might deal with in school. And like I said, it's amazing. I already knew what she could do with what she had, and they got it taken away. And when she cranked this out with what little she had, I was like, whoa, that's an artist that needs to be given way more tools, way more resources, access to things, so she can become everything that that I didn't have as a child.
I want to see it and share it.
Oh,
That's
That's the one that's going to be in the
that's the one that's going to be here. Yeah, and but yeah. So the point being is this. I mean, no matter what you're. I'm sorry, I thought it was over. I'm going to add one little piece that Susie and I had a conversation about. I know, I'm dragging it. Sorry. So I know. Look at your tape; it's running out now.
Tape.
I know tape, Zoom, whatever. No. So.
This is the VCR Film
It's like
Festival.
people still say I'm tape recording something, and I'm like,
It's
no
okay.
tapes
We're still around. We're alive. We have those words.
I'm
That's how
beta.
you
I'm
know.
beta maxing you.
there you go.
So, when I made my film, there were some challenges I had with my computer setup and everything, right? And I was complaining and whining about it. And of course, my daughter, faced her little obstacle, and she got around it. Awesome. And then I'm venting to Susie about, and if some of these people knew what we were able to get done with what we don't have or what little we do have. And then she reminded me of the cool filmmaker in Africa who has to deal with sounds like that going on in the background.
Somebody's phone right now.
Who has vibrate on turbo vibrate.
Yeah, really.
Honestly, it was a good point. There's people in other parts of this world that are contributing to this film festival that don't have the equipment or access to what we have here in the States, and they're still able to get something done. So then I was done complaining. So anything you can do, anything you have, I don't want to hear it about what you don't have. It's doable. Do it. If the content's there, it won't matter. I mean, yeah, you want it to look good, but it won't matter how good it looks if it's all there. So
Sometimes the obstacles that come up when you make a mistake or something's not working is actually what spearheads your project into like the most awesome thing that you could imagine. So it's definitely
little side tip. So as she mentioned, you learn things. This is my first time doing a full film for myself. And, I'm using mobile phones, and I've got this high-end 4K mobile device that gives you amazing quality, things that, that you shouldn't be able to do. Well, it is a small screen. It's large for its phone size, but it's small when you're filming, and you might miss something like a stand in the shot, maybe a co-producer who's kind of green and his foot's in the shot. You don't know this stuff until you went home to edit, and you're like, what?
invest in a script supervisor.
So even though Susie might invest in a script supervisor, I have more technology kind of, I'm going to think out of the box kind of thing, right? So I decided, as I was sitting at home thinking about this, contemplating this at home, I'm like, wait a minute, I can stream to my Roku. I wonder if I can record and then stream to a monitor when I film. So at home, I started recording, whatever, and I shot it over to my TV. And guess what? Lo and behold, my TV was a monitor.
Yep.
So when I went back to film, I'm like, screw cables, screw all this other stuff. Technology's doing it for me. If I just need reference visual, I brought my Roku with me, hooked it up to a TV off to the corner, set up my shot, streamed it over to my TV, and I have a giant monitor now.
That's ingenious.
Yeah.
That's cool.
So this industry is for, I think, anyway, outside of, use a skateboard, and you watch the 10-minute film school with Robert Rodriguez. Back then, he didn't have a dolly. He had a wheelchair that somebody pushed him in.
Yeah.
There's ways to do things, and especially with these mobile phones. You can't take a big camera where you can take these phones. Okay, there's a shot in my film that there was no way I could have shot in a hallway unless I had a device this small. And it's in 4K.
I thought you were going to give us this whole
I know.
demonstration.
Oh, no, I'm just switching out batteries. No, I'm just doing that. And actually,
I'm like,
I know. Well, actually, off when we're done, I can show you the film since you're here as a sneak peek and, whatever.
The film that you're screening at our
If Susie
film
allows it.
No, they'll see it.
Oh, man.
I
You're
know.
tough.
Here's
Susie,
the
don't
thing.
you have to go change spots for parking?
Here's the thing.
Genius.
There's something about seeing a film for the first time on the big screen. I mean, we all did it when we were kids, and then later we'll watch it on HBO
Of course.
or whatever.
Yeah.
Do you have a trailer? I'm just kidding.
I believe it or not, I am in the process of completing it. Yes, just in time for the film festival, so you can have something to be teased with.
Off the top of my head, I'm thinking, what if the trailer's longer than the actual movie?
Yeah. Trust me, I thought about that too. I'm like, so if you got like a 3-minute film, does that make it like a 1-second trailer? I mean, how does it work?
Oh, gosh. If there's sirens going by.
Right.
This message brought to you by the fire department.
SDFD.
Tracy, what do you got going on?
Well, I have my blog, and I have as I mentioned before, a very active social media community around that blog. So there's my Facebook page is facebook.com/hotnerdgirl. Instagram, it's hotnerdgirlofficial. Twitter, it's hot_nerd_girl. Should have thought about all that and made it all the same, but whatever. And for Star Wars Steampunk Universe, we've got a big photo shoot that we're doing next week. So hopefully we can film some stuff for you at that big photo shoot, and just ongoing charity. And one of our most beloved charity events that we did was called Parker's Carnival for a little boy who had terminal brain cancer, and it's a DIPG. It's incurable, and he recently passed away. So his memorial service is coming up. So gonna go there and kind of, you know, support the family and as best we can. But yeah, just kind of if anybody has any charity things that they would love for us to get involved with, please just message us. We're on Facebook at Star Wars Steampunk Universe, just like it sounds, and also on Instagram. And we'd love to get involved.
Cool. I think the last time I saw you, we were at Long Beach Comic Con, and we're doing push-ups outside.
Oh yeah, that was actually like a film thing that we did. So not only am I a Navy brat, but my brother is a Marine. Struggled through some emotional things himself. And of course, there was the 22 push-up challenge that was making the rounds last year. So got everybody together for Star Wars Steampunk, and instead of just having me do 22 push-ups every day, which is fine, but it's, you know, I wanted to kind of do something a little bit, you know, pumped up. And so I got everybody to do their own thing of push-ups, and for 22 days I posted a new video each day with different members of the crew, people from the outside, combinations of each other, and it was really fun. So I was really grateful that everybody jumped on board with that and participated and helped me out with that.
And that was a cool panel that you guys were in at Long Beach Comic Con.
Mm-hmm.
And I did videotape that, so there's a link that I can put on the show notes.
Everybody watched it.
I'm
It's
sorry?
on tape?
Yeah, well, not the push-ups, but the panel that they were on discussing
Cool.
their Star Wars steampunk.
It was a big hit. Yeah,
sweet.
Everybody watched it and loved
Awesome.
it. So
Cool.
I want to see. I never get enough. I mean, like, people go, "Oh, did you see the?" Oh no, you're probably, you know, overwhelmed with watching all these movies. I'm like, no, don't like not show me things, you know.
And yes, and thank you for doing that too, because we don't really ever get video of our panels. So our panels are always cosplay for a cause. So it's
Right.
CAUSE, cosplay for a cause.
Right. It was a really awesome panel, and I enjoyed watching it.
Thank you.
Yeah, I expect we're gonna do an event video again this year because we interview the people in the, you know, and then the other thing that we do too is, like, if anybody in the audience and participants and stuff have photos and things like that, you know, if they tag it, then we can go and fetch those, you know, and with their permission, which we get ahead of time, we'll put them as part of the video as well. But I want to interview each one of you for the event video, and so that's gonna be fun. I'm just stoked that they're gonna be there. You
Yeah,
know,
that's cool.
I feel like a kid.
Yeah, when you initially asked me, like, if I knew of any cosplayers,
Yeah.
and I was talking about it with Alex, like Tracy and
Yeah.
her Star Wars steampunk was the first group that we thought of.
Oh, well, thank you.
Yeah.
No, and she's so sweet, and she's like got a big heart, and she almost just made me cry again.
That'll be the second time?
Yeah. I was walking into the store. I was like, "Oh, hi," because, you know, I'm always smiling and very social and everything. And I just as the door split open, you know, like Star Trek, I went and I started reading her thing, her message about a friend whose best friend, Kitty Cat, passed away. And so it just, like, all the people looked at me like, "What happened to you? Did the door affect you? What happened?" Just because my smile just kind of completely went away and I got choked. You almost did that to me with the kid. There's something about animals and children that those are the kind of movies that really, I can't watch in public because I'll be like, just crying. It's so sad.
Right. All right. So, Susie,
We'll end it with
what do you got going on?
oh my gosh, do I have stuff going on? I have a lot going on, but for the most part, if you go to the website and things like that, I do share what I can, you know, with people. I love to write, so I have probably a couple blogs open. We do plan on interviewing, you know, doing a blog interview with Anthony and his daughter, also with Mickey Harrison, who's the first 82-year-old person that I've met that has done this, you know, as well with mobile filmmaking.
It'd be an interesting juxtaposition having the youngest and maybe the oldest in the same conversation.
room
That's really
and on the
cool.
same carpet with her. I remember during last year's film festival when I was, you know, I was talking and I was sitting down in the audience talking, and I think I had that clip on my, and I turned to her and I said, you know, if there's any way you can do it, and I was trying to inspire her, but the biggest inspirer was her dad. you know. So it's really going to be special. I literally did actually shed some tears during my first film festival. There was a mom and her 2 kids that made a film together, and they all got to share this moment in the red carpet and the movie itself. And I got a little bit emotional, you know, during that one, because it was the first time I got to roll out the red carpet for people, you know. Had that guy come from Macedonia, you know, even for that whole thing. And he brought his whole family, and his father and his best friend had been dreaming about coming to America forever, and here they came with the son because he shot a movie. There's so many stories, you know, the girl Elizabeth from last year. And then there's a lot more that I get to hear about and know, because when the filmmakers, the correspondence goes with me, you know, so I'm the one having the conversations with the filmmakers. It's not like some intern or some, you know, somebody else doing that. And so when we meet on the red carpet, we have a lot of that connection already. It's like friends you met from somewhere else, you know, and then come together on the red carpet. So, you know, it's just kind of cool.
Right.
But if you go to the website, you can find out about the film festival. I also want to bring up something called Techpreneur during our first day. And Techpreneur is like this hashtag that I made. I was going to do it in February, but I was overwhelmed with things, and I thought it'd be better to bring everything together at the film festival.
Is that like a tech entrepreneur?
Yeah. And so, you know, one of the things I've noticed throughout God, it's unbelievable. It's been years since I started this. Connecting businesses. Businesses have been all about video and technology, you know what I mean? And connecting them with the entertainment industry, you know, and the filmmaking industry as well through, you know, the mobile technology is one of them. But there's a lot, you know, AR, VR, apps, you know, and all these things. I really like connecting, you know, these things, because I see them and they're so obvious, you know, to me, that I want to introduce that as part of, you know, something new that we can get going, and maybe do some more events here in San Diego and bring people from these industries together so that they can work together, you know, within the industry, and it's all win-win at that rate, you know. And then we've got some plans that that one I can't really say yet. I'm still working on confirmation for that, but having to do with film distribution and things like that for filmmakers, where they can actually, you know, it won't be a YouTube thing. It'll be really cool. It's related to MFTV, which is it's like a network film distribution channel. And the other thing that we're working on, you know, the Mobile Film School. The Mobile Film School has been something this year that I made myself do a workshop every month this year, just about. And one of the things that I realized was that hands-on, you know, yes, you know, like Anthony was saying, you can go online and you can find, you know, these little video tutorials and things like that. But when you're talking to an 11-year-old, or you're talking to an 82-year-old, or you're talking to someone who is a banker or an accountant, or, you know, something like that, they don't know about this industry enough. You know, they don't really know what an XLR is, you know, for connecting a microphone, you know. They don't know all these things. So to say, and they don't need to be honest with you, in order to get started, you know, making a movie with their phones. So one of the things that I'm starting to put together is a network for the Mobile Film Festival, to be a network of the filmmakers that are all over the world already becoming complete experts. And they're teaching this, you know, say in Asia somewhere, you know, they got a community there and they can teach it there. But somebody from there can come, you know, people can come to the Mobile Film School website and have it be like a network of places where they can go, that they can actually get hands-on learning, you know, as opposed to just looking at it on video, you know, and connecting the manufacturers of you know, the gadgets, you know, the accessories for filmmaking, gimbals and apps and things like that, and having them all be in that film school network, and working with each other so they can all benefit from each other instead of just Googling each other. Because if you ever Google, say gimbal, the first thing that comes up, of course, is going to be Amazon. And then you go into Amazon and you see so many things there that you don't really know what to go for. So
Overwhelming.
It is overwhelming. And I think that's part of why the success of building communities online has been very successful, because it's like you've got this niche, and so instead of going out and shooting into all the stars of the universe, you're just looking for 3 spaceships, type of a thing, and they have everything you need right there, and it just saves you a lot of time, and it helps people, trusting that these are legitimate places as far as I could, do that. So that's another thing. But the film festival itself is our biggest thing right now, just because it's right around the corner. So like the news, it's like, well, that's just happening now. We'll worry about that later. That's going to be really important. And one of the things that I do want to say is that the winners of this film festival this year are going to get a free entry into our film festival. The Mobil Film nominations. The Global Mobile Film Awards. So that, and the member film festivals, they'll be able to do that as well, but that's going to be really cool. Our handle for Twitter, our Twitter handle is Mobil Film SD is one, and we have the same one on Instagram, which is Mobil Film SD. And then we have our website, internationalmobilefilmfestival.com. Or the short one, you can just shout this out through your car window at somebody. sbp.cc. You can almost do a song.
Anthony.
Right.
And then our event tag for this year, if you just want to Google that, it's, the hashtag, and then it's Mobil Film SD, MFF 2017 San Diego.
Right. Yeah, we'll definitely wrap that out on social media. One thing before we sign off, I was curious, the films that you showcase at the festival,
Yeah.
can people view them online later?
Some of them.
Yeah.
Some of them will do. And like I told you, I'm working on this thing with the film distribution, so hopefully that'll all come together before the film festival. It's supposed to. Mm-hmm. Hopefully that will come together, and then we'll give filmmakers an option to become a part of that and possibly make their videos, part of the film festival as a channel on demand, so they can make some money on that.
Cool.
So.
We're going to close up the show, and
We will definitely have the winners, though, on our website, their videos after the film festival.
okay, cool. Before I close up the show, I want to give out a big virtual hug. Today was returning registration for San Diego Comic-Con. And for those of you who weren't able to get one today, I'm going to send out a big virtual hug to you. And hopefully you'll be luckier during open registration. So, thank you for listening to the Hall H Show. We are so looking forward to the International Mobile Film Festival. We hope that some of you listening will one day create a mobile film of your own. I know we have a few ideas. Our mission is to put the mainstream Hall H spotlight on artists, writers, and other creatives like Susan, Anthony, and Tracy. We love especially emerging talent and ones that we think deserve more exposure. So please make it a point to visit Artist Alley at all the conventions you plan on going to this year. Speaking of conventions, please make sure you are continuing to be SDCC Fits for the long con season ahead. Join in on the fun by following the SDCC Fit movement online on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. If you are listening on Google Play or iTunes, we would appreciate a rating and a comment. We are always looking for interesting guests to have on the show, so if you have any suggestions, please reach out to us on social media using the hashtag HallHShow. Peace, cheers, and artists assemble. Thank you.